Single mom's baby photo exposed mid-flight. CEO's incredible reaction will leave you transformed. The plane lurched violently, rattling Lisa from her thoughts. Gritting her teeth, she squeezed the armrests as if to anchor herself against the chaos both outside and within. The overhead compartments shook, and fellow passengers murmured, brimming with concern. But for Lisa, the turbulence mirrored her fraying nerves. A major presentation awaited her in New York, a chance to prove herself in a male-dominated corporate world. Yet, the weight of her reality as a single mother pressed heavily on her chest. Alone, she often felt judged, whispered about in meetings, and the stigma of being responsible for young Mia cut deep. She shot a glance at the colleagues sitting 2 rows ahead, a sneer visible even through the thrumming engines. What was she thinking? That Lisa was too distracted by her daughter to succeed? Desperation clawed at her throat, the abrasive judgment echoing in her mind as if amplifying the turbulence. What did they see when they looked at her? A woman failing at dual roles, intertwining mother and executive? In this moment, self-doubt etched magic moments of pride into dust. Just as Lisa felt herself sinking, the stranger beside her, a kind-faced woman, produced a worn baby photo from her purse, momentarily distracting Lisa from her turmoil. Small fingers decorated with soft, pudgy knuckles reached out from the page, bringing forth memories that wrapped around her like a warm blanket. When had she last felt that wrapped in tenderness by family? The image resonated deep within, dredging up bittersweet memories of a connection she'd never fully realized with her estranged mother. "Isn't she adorable?" asked the kind woman, glancing sideways, her eyes sparkling with nostalgia. It was then that Lisa noticed the name tag pinned to her blazer, the CEO. Blood rushed to Lisa's cheeks, her pulse quickening. This wasn't just a chance encounter, this was her moment. Before she could process the implications, familiar hands pointed to the photo, a paradoxical reminder that her sweet innocence had once defined her, long before the weight of responsibility had settled upon her. "Nice picture," the CEO offered, smiling. "Reminds me of a campaign I considered years ago." But the moment shattered as her colleague's voice broke through like thunder. "Oh please, can someone bring a serious conversation to this flight? Do you think Lisa has the time to focus on this project with a kid at home?" An icy knot formed in Lisa's stomach. Each word fell like heavy stones. She could feel her heart racing, not just from the turbulence, but from the insistent truth of her dedication being questioned. Somewhere, deep within, anger morphed with a simmering fear. It felt as if the plane itself spiraled lower, flirting with disaster. She needed to fight back. "Actually," Lisa began, her voice rising above the noise, "I work harder than anyone here. I balance both jobs because I care deeply, and I'm here to prove it." The plane shook, mirroring her pulse. Vigor washed over her, equally thrilling and terrifying. It felt liberating to stand tall amidst the storm. Her words struck chords above the fray, invoking murmurs from others, the cabin heavy with unbroken tension. But before she could bask in that moment or even breathe, the flight descended sharply, and her eyes locked on the CEO once more, their connection crackling with uncertainty. Could this become an opportunity for change, a recognition that transcended ill-formed judgments? She stared out the cracked window as the skyline of New York drew near, adrenaline coursing through her veins. The plane dipped, and an electric tension hung heavy in the air. What would happen next? Would she be a voice of reason or dismissed? The space between them filled with unanswered possibilities, leaving Lisa on edge, eyes narrowing to fight against the swelling pressures of expectation and doubt. How high could she rise when the world saw her only as half of what she was? The weight on her chest mingled tightly with an air of hope, driving her desperately into the unknown. The plane finally leveled out, and Lisa's breath caught in her throat as she glanced at the CEO, who now seemed to assess her with newfound interest. This could be the moment that would redefine everything: her career, her identity as a mother, her very existence in a world often quick to judge. But instead of basking in that potential, the harsh voice of doubt crept back in, nudging at her resolve. Did she really belong in this space? The descent into John F. Kennedy International Airport was smoother than her nerves. Her mind flickered back to Mia, her little girl waiting anxiously at home. A soft pang of guilt hit her. Was it selfish to pursue her ambition while trusting someone else with her daughter's care? Yet each time she entertained the thought, she quickly countered it with the conviction that building a better future was her ultimate responsibility. With the landing gear deploying, Lisa felt herself hyper-focusing, analyzing every detail that could contribute to her upcoming presentation. The CEO's presence was an unexpected variable, her smile holding the weight of unspoken possibilities. What if Lisa could articulate her ideas effectively? What if she could show that being a mother didn't diminish her capabilities but strengthen them? Her heart raced anew with adrenaline, aligning her thoughts with a surprising determination. As the plane touched down, Lisa reminded herself during the taxi to the terminal, this was her time to shine. Security quickly cleared as they disembarked, the crowded airport buzzing with urgency. Lisa shoved down her apprehension and followed the trail of the other passengers, her focus locked on the exit sign and the looming meeting ahead. Inside the terminal, her phone buzzed. It was a reminder of the presentation. Anxiety gnawed, with it came the suffocating thoughts of inadequacy. She shook her head as if to physically push them away. She was capable, she was a solution finder, a multitasking powerhouse. As she traversed the busy concourse, her mind shifted to that baby photo once more. The little girl grinning back at her embodied innocence but also the yearning for belonging that fueled her ambition. She couldn't let the past dictate her present. Being a mother had honed her instincts, taught her resilience in the face of adversity. Perhaps it wasn't just the need to prove herself that drove her, but a deeper call to embody being both strong and nurturing. Lisa spotted an empty seat near her departure gate and seized the moment. With her laptop open, she began making final adjustments to her slides. Each point articulated her vision not just of succeeding, but thriving, thereby spinning the narrative away from judgment and scrutiny to resilience and hope. Time ticked forward, bringing her meeting closer. The warmth of the CEO's earlier smile illuminated her mind. But even as she prepared, new doubts crept in. What if her ideas fell flat? Afraid, she reminded herself of last week's strategy that had been well received. Confidence surged, momentarily overwhelming her unease, but then a sharp voice broke through her thoughts, a familiar sneer capturing her attention. What's so urgent that you need to prepare here? Can't concentrate without a little luxury? Lisa's heart sank again, and she clenched her fists. It was one thing to face professional challenges, it was another to continually confront doubt from those around her. Her composure faltered, but she leveled her gaze, not just at her colleague but at the entire room, the plane, the terminal, the whole damn world that had so often underestimated her. In that instant, the path forward crystallized. Rather than yielding to poison, she resolved to confront misunderstanding head-on. Lisa stood tall, purpose igniting within her. This was a matter of more than just a presentation, it was about claiming her space. As they called her flight to board, anticipation tingled through her veins. She had the chance to redefine herself, to showcase who she really was beyond stereotypes. Would she have the courage to dismantle misperceptions, stand her ground, and show others the relentless spirit of a single mother? Her heartbeat raced as she walked towards the gate, the world around her pulsating with possibility. With each step, the energy surged, propelling her forward to face whatever awaited her in that conference room. And with that, Lisa understood, she held more power than she had ever realized, shaped by the very experiences she once thought to be burdens. As she rounded the corner, the boardroom door loomed ahead. Would she seize this opportunity or shrink under the weight of expectation? The moment was arriving. This was her chance to confront not just the skeptics in the room, but the fears that had held her back for too long. The boardroom door stood ominously before Lisa, an unyielding barrier to everything she aspired to accomplish. She took a deep breath, steadying herself in the sterile, fluorescent lighting that hummed above, her heart drumming a chaotic rhythm. For all the excitement brewing inside her, the nagging whispers of doubt tethered her confidence like lead weights. As she entered, the atmosphere inside shifted. Eyes turned toward her, a mixture of curiosity and skepticism hanging thickly in the air. The long table bobbed with high-ranking executives, their expressions unreadable except for the CEO, whose welcoming smile imbued the space with a glimmer of hope. "Lisa, glad you made it," she said, motioning her to take a seat. There it was, the moment she'd envisioned. Yet, self-doubt seeped into her thoughts like a slow poison. The memory of that sneering remark echoed in her mind, a bitter reminder of the scrutiny awaiting her. She swallowed hard, gripping the edge of the table, feeling the coolness of the polished wood steadying her wavering courage. Determined not to falter, Lisa opened her laptop, her fingers hovering over the keys. "Today," she began, her voice steadying, "I want to share a vision that goes beyond just numbers and projections." She could feel the CEO's gaze penetrating, searching for authenticity in her words. It fueled her fire. Each slide she unveiled illustrated not just a business plan, but her journey as a mother intertwining with her professional aspirations. Her strategy mixed personal anecdotes with forward-thinking business tactics, a clever move to connect on both emotional and intellectual levels. She watched as the expressions shifted, from skepticism to intrigue, especially as she articulated the strength motherhood had instilled within her. "For too long, women like me have been sidelined, questioned about our capacity to juggle both home and work," she pressed on, her pulse quickening with every word. "But it is precisely this duality that equips us with unique problem-solving skills, creativity in crisis, and resilience unlike any other." With each point she emphasized, fragments of her childhood resurfaced. Those times in school when speaking up or taking charge felt like climbing monumental peaks, but just as she began to feel the momentum swing in her favor, she hesitated, her mind circling back to the voice of that colleague, the one who had challenged her confidence merely moments before. "What gives me the right to define capable?" she questioned internally, as doubts prickled her thoughts like an annoying thorn. Before she could descend into that familiar spiral, Lisa seized the moment. "Actually, I want to share something a bit more personal. Some might say this wouldn't have a place in this meeting, but I believe it's all interconnected." Lisa flicked to a slide with a baby photo of Mia, the little girl grinning back at the world. Murmurs of surprise bubbled around the table. "Here she is," she continued, undeterred. "My driving force, my inspiration. Every decision I make, every ounce of effort I pour into this job, is for her future." The room fell silent, the weight of her words hanging like an unbroken promise. As the slide transitioned to her vision for the company, she saw the lines of judgment soften. Lisa could feel the atmosphere shift. She was no longer just a single mother presenting a business strategy, she was an advocate for change, representing all the unsung burdens mothers carry while striving for professional excellence. Yet, as her presentation neared conclusion, Lisa's breath hitched. Would they truly understand, or would she continue to be dismissed as just another mother trying to make a name for herself in business? She needed this to succeed, not just for her career but to demonstrate to Mia that fighting for your dreams was worth every struggle. The moment hung in the balance. Lisa glanced up, meeting the CEO's eyes, who appeared captivated, contemplating with an intrigue that could only spell either approval or critique. "Now that you've seen not just my vision, but the heart behind it," Lisa said, determination welling within her, "what do you envision for us as a company moving forward?" All eyes were on her, the tension palpable, as she awaited their response. Whatever came next would either cement her place at this table or pull her down into the shadows again. The stakes had never been clearer, and as she braced herself for the answer, she felt something shift deeply within her, a realization that she was more than just a mother, she was a force to be reckoned with. Suddenly, the CEO leaned in, ready to speak. What would she say next? Would Lisa's moment of vulnerability solidify her place among these industry giants, or would it unravel before her eyes? The CEO's smile widened, fueled by genuine warmth blending with amusement. "Lisa, I didn't expect that turn. Your authenticity in presenting your experience as a mother alongside your vision is both refreshing and powerful," she started, her voice levying authority that danced with an undertone of encouragement. It reminds us all that there's more to our roles at this table than profits and losses. Lisa felt a surge of energy course through her, an intermingling of relief and exhilaration. This was at the moment when her deepest truths were validated not just by her but by someone sitting at the helm of the company. As the CEO shared her thoughts, Lisa attuned herself to the nonverbal cues around the table. The heads nodded, and the skepticism ebbed away. Ideas flew around, weaving a collective tapestry of enthusiasm for innovation that Lisa had anticipated. They began discussing initiatives on work-life balance, flexible hours, and support for working parents, all topics woven seamlessly into her presentation, but amidst the whirlwind of supportive conversations, doubt fluttered in the corners of Lisa's mind. Was her message truly getting through? Were they simply enraptured by the emotional narrative? Her heart raced, wondering if they would still embrace her more abstract business ideas, the concepts she fought to articulate amid the personal tales that defined her journey. "Let us take this beyond just words," another executive chimed in, pointing to Lisa's proposed strategies. "What can we actually implement? What metrics can we set to measure this impact?" Her spirit soared as the discussion pivoted toward actionable steps. They spoke about incorporating diversity metrics and the importance of mentorship programs, all ideas she had hoped to highlight. Yet, the specter of those first remarks loomed. How far would they push these new ideas, and could they shift company culture meaningfully? Feeling her confidence re-emerge, she decided to push back a little, to advocate not just for the honor of mothers in the workplace but for creating tangible change. While the emotional connection is essential, she interjected, metrics are crucial in holding ourselves accountable. I believe we need to not only increase diversity but also track retention rates and career advancement among women. If we're to lead in innovation, we must demonstrate that inclusive environments empower success. The room quieted momentarily, the weight of her words resonating. Lisa took the brief pause to glance at the CEO. In that instant, she saw a flicker of admiration, an acknowledgement that she was stepping beyond the confines of her role. The responses that followed were vibrant, filled with ideas on how to bring about real change rather than mere token gestures, but with exhilaration came a flash of fear. This was just the beginning. Would they genuinely follow through on these developments, or would they revert to old habits? Lisa's resolve solidified in that uncertainty. She needed to be vigilant, to continue pushing for her vision while enlisting allies from this boardroom who believed in the significance of change. As the boardroom chatter buzzed around her, a new thought ignited within Lisa, a possibility. She envisioned transforming her temporary triumph into a sustained campaign for equality and empowerment, starting right here in this company. "Thank you all for your support," she began again, her tone resonating confidence, "but let us not just celebrate the approval of ideas today. We need to create a framework that holds us accountable in our pursuit of growth, not just as a company but as individuals committed to changing the dialogue." Unexpectedly, she felt bold enough to conclude, "I want to lead this initiative. Let us solidify our vision and make it a reality." As she spoke, new voices emerged, suggesting follow-up meetings, brainstorming sessions, and cross-departmental collaborations. Yet, even in the midst of excitement, a nagging challenge stirred within her. How would she navigate this potential for influence without sacrificing her core beliefs? Or getting lost in bureaucracy? As the meeting wound down with a resolve that promised change, Lisa gathered her materials, her mind racing with newfound ideas. The reaction from her colleagues had opened doors she never dreamed could swing wide open. The moment of truth had passed, but the journey was only beginning. As she stepped out of the boardroom, she knew that she now stood at a crossroads. This was not just about securing a place in corporate hierarchy, it was about cementing a legacy of change. What ripple effects could her journey create for others, and would she manage to confront those deeper insecurities lurking beneath her newfound resolve? In the bustling corridor, a small familiar voice echoed in her head, "What will it take for your ideas to transcend this moment, Lisa?" And as she stepped forward, she realized, it was time to not only find the answers but to confront the very systems that made those answers daunting. Lisa stepped out of the boardroom, the echoes of enthusiasm swirling around her, and yet her mind thrashed against uncertainty. Could this newfound support really translate into actionable change? Each lingering doubt felt like a weight on her chest. She grasped her notebook tightly, her knuckles whitening. The exhilaration from the meeting ebbed as she traversed the bustling office. This was no longer about seeking approval or validation, it was about creating a meaningful legacy for others. As she settled back at her desk, the familiar crunch of papers under her fingers felt oddly comforting. But instead of the usual barrage of emails, a clear focus emerged. Lisa needed to create a structured plan, a blueprint that not only harnessed passion but also translated ideas into tangible, measurable outcomes. What were the specific first steps? The ambiguity nudged at her, urging her to map out the process without delay. Drawing a deep breath, Lisa began jotting down a series of potential initiatives, mentorship programs, flexible hours, and embedded diversity training, all iterations of her vision. A pulse of recognition quickened within her. Each item on that list had the potential to spark transformation globally and personally. Yet still, one question lingered like an uninvited guest: would anyone truly rally behind her? With a resolve that had become a defining trait, she decided to reach out to a few trusted colleagues from the meeting, those whose expressions had shown genuine interest. Lisa drafted a message, her fingers dancing across the keyboard as she orchestrated a summoning of voices into a collaborative effort. The thought of having allies invigorated her. Every message sent felt like a promise, a scaling of walls she had feared for so long. The afternoon progressed slowly but productively, responses trickled in. Some were eager to meet, others had questions that challenged her ideas. Each engagement fortified her determination. But, as she clicked through her inbox, a new sense of awareness washed over her. This was not merely about winning hearts but running a strategic campaign filled with vulnerability and grit. That night, as Lisa prepared dinner, the convergence of her personal and professional lives struck her anew. She often balanced work calls with the chaos of her children returning home. Yet tonight, in this soothing rhythm of routine, she felt energy surge through her again. How could her dual existence not be embraced? The motherhood narrative could be a secret weapon. Resilience, adaptability, and emotional intelligence became her hallmarks. The clock chimed softly, the quiet moment bleeding into reflection. While she calculated the importance of metrics, the real power lay in the stories, the human experiences that tied her initiatives together. Creating a culture of inclusion and support would require more than just graphs and statistics. It needed openness to the narratives of the individuals participating. Her gaze drifted toward a crumpled photograph of her children, a visual reminder of why she was pushing boundaries. The laughter they shared wasn't merely background noise, it was fuel. Early next morning, as the dawn broke, Lisa paced the office halls, winding through clusters of teams engaged in discussions about pivoting projects. Inviting spontaneity into her interactions, she broke into conversations with anyone who showed even a hint of interest. Each discussion chipped away at her internal hesitations. She felt lighter each time she approached someone, sharing her vision and inviting their thoughts. Have you considered how this can strengthen your team's cohesion? One colleague asked. Lisa seized the moment. It opened the door to deeper explorations. A simple question shifted something within her. It was as if a new fragment of confidence crystallized, spurring her to strategize further, but the clarity came with a cost. As she strategized her path, Lisa stumbled into a bitter awareness, the unyielding resistance that often sprung up in corporate structures. As weeks progressed, she kept encountering backpedaling, cautions from seasoned executives drowning out her fervor at every turn. Dissenting opinions are essential, her mentor advised during a catch-up lunch. Yet even as she absorbed his words, she sensed the core frustration bubbling beneath her largely optimistic exterior. Would they attempt to block her at every opportunity? The thought tightened her throat. She knew she must confront this deep-rooted resistance head-on without diminishing her vision. Inside, a raging determination ignited even more fiercely. To transcend these moments of contention and make her voice resonate, Lisa grasped that she must evoke change not just from above, but throughout every layer of the organization. The battle was not just with the systems on the surface, it was about enlightening each individual within those structures. As she dreamt of the potential to inspire genuine change, Lisa felt the weight of ambition settle within her. She sensed, now more than ever, that rising challenges demanded resilience fused with creativity. Industry leadership could no longer be relegated to the boardroom alone, it needed heart and humanity, yet, beneath that fabric of aspiration simmered fear of confrontation. The need to face the very people who held the power to hinder her vision lay in stark contrast to her ambition. Can I face them and emerge unscathed? The thought echoed in her mind, challenging her even as it invigorated her with purpose. Right then, Lisa knew she was standing before her moment of truth. She was on the precipice of something larger than herself. As she transitioned into the next steps of her mission, a daunting question loomed larger than the others. How would she navigate the political landscape laden with preconceived notions and entrenched skepticism? Would this journey ultimately fortify her resolve or become her undoing? Lisa sat in her office, the weight of the corporate maze pressing down like a thick mist. She crafted her strategy with meticulous care, yet the specter of skepticism loomed large. Every statistic and every anecdote she accumulated felt insufficient against those entrenched in tradition. How could she elicit change in a structure so resistant to new ideas? Determined to chip away at that cynicism, Lisa dissected her recent conversations. Moments of vulnerability shared in the boardroom mingled with whispers of doubt. Perhaps she needed to leverage her own narrative, transform her experiences into a compelling argument that connected the head and the heart. Relaying her journey, she would intersect personal and professional realms in a way that turned critics into advocates. With this objective in mind, Lisa decided to gather her supporters, a group forged not merely by agreement but by shared belief. They met at a coffee shop, the warm aroma swirling around them, providing a semblance of comfort in the unrelenting tides of corporate obstacles. Conversations flourished under the subtle creak of cups sliding on saucers, where voices were uncaged and open. "Let us share our stories," she proposed, her voice punctuated by determination. One by one, anecdotes emerged, revealing the common ground they stood on. Tales of struggles, moments of triumph, and the chaotic dance of balancing career and family painted a vivid picture. For Lisa, each revelation bolstered her confidence. She was no longer just an isolated voice in the crowd but a part of a chorus yearning for change, yet the harmony was disrupted by a sudden tension thick enough to slice through the atmosphere. A seasoned executive from the notoriously skeptical old guard sauntered into the cafe, their presence feeling like a storm cloud hovering above. Lisa felt her heart quicken. Would he undermine their momentum? "Fancy meeting you all here," he remarked, his tone dripping with ambivalence. The air felt heavy, the walls seemed to close in. As her peers exchanged nervous glances, Lisa resolved not to shrink back. "We're discussing how to foster a more inclusive environment," she countered, voice steady despite the internal tempest brewing. The executive raised an eyebrow, a mixture of disbelief and intrigue. "More inclusion? What makes you think this is the right time?" His challenging question hung in the air, sparking fear but fueling her resolve. The collective gaze shifted toward her, a silent plea to defend their shared aspirations. Taking a deep breath, Lisa tapped into that well of emotion she had cultivated while juggling motherhood and her career. "Because we're ready to evolve, not just as employees but as human beings. Inclusion is not just a buzzword, it's about harnessing the uniqueness of our narratives. It's what drives us forward." A flicker of surprise crossed the executive's face, momentarily disarming him. For the first time, Lisa sensed a crack in his formidable demeanor. What if she challenged the notion that the older generation had all the answers? What if passion and sincerity were the keys to creating a bridge instead of a battleground? Yes, but passion alone won't change minds. His reply came swift and sharp. "True. But passion paired with the willingness to transform our culture can lead to results that numbers can't capture," Lisa countered. The room collectively held its breath, revved up from the unexpected weight of confrontation. As the tension thickened, Lisa felt conviction rising within her. This was not merely a discussion, it was a turning point. Confronting resistance fueled her desire to not only prevail but to inspire. Each eye trained on her became a mirror reflecting the potential buried beneath layers of tradition, but the moment of clarity unveiled a harsh reality. Lisa realized that while she had allies, not everyone would be persuaded by mere enthusiasm. To play the long game, she needed to equip her supporters with strategies, tactful, calculated approaches that would gradually shift perspectives. How do we convince those who are set in their ways? How do we engage them constructively? One supporter posed just as the executive began to nod contemplatively, perhaps recognizing the merit in vulnerability. By building relationships, she responded quickly. We tell our stories, invite them to share theirs and find links that bridge our differences. The notion settled in, resting on everyone's shoulders, a detailed plan forming like threads weaving a tapestry of change. The meeting concluded, but the challenge of skepticism stretched before Lisa like an uncharted path. As she descended into the night, her resilience sharpened with each step, yet with this momentum came an unsettling thought. How long could she sustain this energy, this willingness to confront? Would she wear herself thin like so many others around her had before? As her drive toward transformation surged, a new fear bubbled beneath the surface. Would confronting the naysayers yield not only growth but also fatigue, turning allies into adversaries? The stakes were increasing, and the coming storm of resistance was on the horizon. She could feel it. With her heart racing, Lisa sensed the next phase of her journey crystallizing. The time had come to face those who would challenge her vision directly. Would her newfound strength be enough to usher in the change she envisioned, or would it crack under the weight of confrontation? The following day dawned crisp and clear, yet Lisa felt the heaviness of the looming confrontation tugging at her core. She walked into her office and settled into her chair, but the familiar confines of the space felt like a cage. Her mind fixed on a singular goal, to turn doubt into dialogue. Determined, she opened her laptop and began drafting her approach to the upcoming meeting with the executive team. The words flowed slowly at first, her fingers hesitating over the keys as latent fears began to surface. What if they rejected her ideas outright? What if her vulnerability was met with dismissal? Shaking off the negativity, she focused instead on the urgency of her mission. She needed to craft a narrative that not only showcased the benefits of inclusion but also resonated with the experiences of the very people she aimed to persuade, the seasoned executives who she feared might dismiss her as just another passionate idealist. As she typed, the weight of their collective history hung over her, a reminder of the risks involved in challenging the status quo. Hours passed, and Lisa found herself lost in thought. Internal dialogues unfolded, scenarios she might face, challenges she could explore, but most importantly, how to present her vision clearly and compellingly. It became evident that she had to distill the essence of her vision into a few powerful statements that could cut through the noise of skepticism. She reflected on the stories shared at the cafe, recognizing that the heart of change lay in shared humanity. Empowered by this reflection, she decided to structure her presentation around her story and those of her allies. Lisa composed a narrative that moved fluidly from personal experience to collective aspiration, intertwining a vision of inclusion with tangible outcomes that spoke to not only their responsibilities as leaders but their capacity for empathy and growth. With her outline in place, Lisa made a list of potential questions and counterarguments to anticipate. Every point of resistance could become an opening for connection if framed thoughtfully. She envisioned a conversation, a dialogue rather than a monologue, engaging those around the table in a meaningful way. As she practiced her delivery in front of the mirror, each iteration built her confidence. She paid attention to her body language, ensuring it conveyed certainty instead of hesitation. However, beneath her composed exterior, there was a creeping anxiety that clawed at her resolve. Would her message resonate? Later that evening, Lisa met another ally for dinner, hoping to rehearse her presentation. As they sat around the table, she shared her updates and new strategies. Her allies' enthusiasm boosted her spirits. "You're not just fighting for a cause, you're embodying it," he affirmed. His words wrapped around her like a comforting blanket, stifling the oncoming chill of doubt. But as they spoke, a thought surfaced: what if the very approach she had designed to create harmony could inadvertently deepen the divide? The older executives were entrenched in their perspectives. Could her passion risk alienating them further? Driving home, Lisa's mind swirled with possibilities and dilemmas, each thought a sharp reminder of the stakes involved. Each lane she navigated mirrored the tension building within her. She approached an intersection, one road leading toward confrontation and accountability, the other toward complacency and comfort. Tomorrow would determine whether she would boldly advocate for change or retreat into the shadows. The resolve crystallized within her. Lisa was ready to wade through the corporate waters of doubt, but could she steer the ship of leadership without capsizing her mission? Her thoughts flooded with urgency as she parked her car, her heart pounding, bracing herself to face not only her challenges but the potential growth they promised. Would she emerge with newfound resolve, or would the resistance wear her down? The hour of reckoning approached, its grip tightening. In that moment, Lisa understood she didn't just want to create change. She needed to fuel transformation, not just for herself but for everyone subjected to the weight of tradition. As she entered her home, the spark of determination ignited a sense of purpose, but it was coupled with an unsettling acknowledgement. Confrontation loomed just beyond the horizon, and only time would reveal its outcome. The morning light seeped into Lisa's room, illuminating the weight of the day ahead. As she got ready, she felt the knot in her stomach tighten. Ignoring it wouldn't work, she had to confront it head-on. The engagement with an audience of seasoned executives felt more daunting than any public speaking event she had faced before. Their seasoned skepticism loomed larger than life itself. Yet, as she brushed her hair and selected her outfit, a navy blazer paired with a crisp white blouse, Lisa resolved to embrace this moment. She understood that every interaction was an opportunity, a platform, and a chance to inject her values into a rigid structure. This was not just corporate jargon, it was her calling to bring forth the narratives that were often overlooked. Standing in front of the bathroom mirror one last time, she practiced her opening lines, reciting them aloud until they poured from her lips effortlessly. Confidence surged through her as she identified each word not as a mere statement, but as a vital element in her mission to encourage dialogue about new perspectives. During the drive to the office, Lisa pored over every possible scenario in her mind. Should she engage them with statistics or anecdotes? Would emotional appeal triumph over logic? As she navigated the familiar streets, she also reflected on her journey, how she had climbed from a hesitant employee to someone who dared to challenge the status quo, knowing that transformation required her to embrace uncomfortable conversations. Arriving at the office, she took a moment, inhaling deeply. The scent of fresh coffee wafted through the air, and she allowed its warmth to settle her nerves. The buzz of colleagues conversing faded into the background as she steeled herself for the confrontation. Walking into the conference room was akin to stepping onto an arena floor. The executives sat at a long table, their expressions poker-faced, a visual representation of her fears. She felt the urge to retract, to retreat to her safety net, but Lisa reminded herself of the stories she wanted to share, the ones that echoed her purpose. Taking a deep breath, she began. The words flowed more freely than expected, buoyed by her resolve. With each slide detailing her vision for inclusion, she could almost see the gears shifting in their minds. Yet, the tension thickened when she invited conversation. Anticipating pushback, she had mentally rehearsed how to navigate the responses, when one of the executives, a veteran of the industry, raised an eyebrow and challenged her examples as being too idealistic. Lisa's heart raced. Her instincts urged her to deflect, but instead, she leaned into the challenge. Is it idealistic to envision a company thriving by embracing diversity? She countered, her voice steady. The room fell silent. In that moment, she realized that vulnerability and strength could coexist. By framing her responses through stories of real experiences, she not only defended her ideas but also solidified her stance. However, the primal fear of rejection lingered, casting shadows on her sense of victory, and she could feel the stakes rising. A well-respected executive chimed in, raising a common concern: what if this simply doesn't work for our stakeholders? Anxiety coursed through her, but Lisa used it to fuel her determination. What if it does? She leaned forward, making eye contact, inviting them to envision the potential together. As the discussion deepened, Lisa felt a burgeoning confidence amidst the dissent. Her heart leaped when one executive nodded, a flicker of understanding in his gaze. If even one could begin to see her perspective, perhaps there was hope. The meeting pushed on, evolving into a vigorous discussion, and while there were still dissenters, others began to engage with curiosity and respect. Lisa realized she had effectively turned the tides. What began as an imposing confrontation was transforming into a collaboration of ideas. As she wrapped up, there was a mix of relief and realization that change wouldn't happen overnight, but seeds had been planted. With her presentation done and initial traction gained, Lisa felt a surge of empowerment. She had taken the risk, and regardless of the outcome, she had spoken her truth. Later, reflecting on the meeting, one thought lodged in her mind: if she had the courage to confront the giants, could she continue to challenge herself in deeper ways that might expose her vulnerabilities even further? What other boundaries could she push? Just then, her phone buzzed a message from her ally: "You were incredible today, but remember, this is just the beginning." The weight of that statement hung heavy in the air, igniting a spark of curiosity within her. What awaited her in the next chapter of this journey? The hours after the meeting dragged on, yet Lisa felt a simmering energy beneath the surface, pulsating through her veins. Each conversation with a colleague felt charged. They didn't just share office pleasantries, they delved deeper, exploring ideas she had barely dared articulate until now. With each exchange, the veil of self-doubt gradually lifted, allowing clarity to emerge. Yet, amidst the positive feedback, uncertainty clawed at her psyche. Was she merely riding the high of a single successful meeting? The words of her ally echoed in her mind, amplifying her questions. What did the beginning actually entail? The thought filled her with both excitement and trepidation. In the following week, she committed herself to further exploration, seeking out executives with whom she could share her insights about inclusivity and innovation. However, the same executives who had nodded in understanding were now cloaked in the haze of corporate pragmatism. Was it naive to think that one heated discussion could unearth any substantial change? Her resolve shivered under the weight of this realization. One afternoon, while preparing for another round of strategic meetings, Lisa's phone buzzed with a notification. An article featuring her company had gone live, showcasing the vision she had presented. The title blared, "A New Dawn for Diversity, One Executive's Vision for Transformation." The weight of that recognition sent a tremor of unease through her. Wrapped in the exhilaration of sudden visibility, Lisa glanced at the comments section, her heart racing as skepticism came alive in the form of critiques and dismissive quips. Phrases like "idealism will not pay the bills" and "sounds great on paper" clawed at her earlier confidence. The carefree lecture given moments before felt more like a distant memory. These were her hurdles now, echoing reminders of what could either propel her or impede her progress. She sought solace in her mentor, Angela, seeking validation for her doubts. Over coffee, Angela listened quietly, nodding as Lisa narrated her roller coaster journey. "Self-doubt can be an insidious intruder," Angela finally responded, her tone measured. "But rejection and skepticism are not reflections of your capabilities, Lisa. They are part and parcel of innovation." Lisa absorbed those words, realizing that every great move surged forward amidst a tide of criticism. Yet, the paradox lingered: wasn't it her job to create change while simultaneously navigating the very apprehensions that surrounded it? Determined to find balance, she mapped out a strategy for her next presentation, aiming to delve deeper into the narratives surrounding inclusivity and drawing connections with the company's core objectives. She transformed critiques into stepping stones, framing her responses not merely as defense but as a bridge to higher-level conversation. Days turned into a blur of preparation, meetings, and candid discussions. But Lisa was acutely aware of the price her dream exacted: time away from her family, her daughter's laughter, the moments she didn't want to miss. Tonight, as she settled into bed, she remembered her daughter's proud words about her work. It rekindled a sense of purpose. It was not just about the corporation but about role-modeling resilience. Yet, the unease remained, ticking quietly in the back of her mind. That night, A vivid dream involved her speaking to a crowd that extended beyond the boardroom, layers upon layers of supporters and skeptics challenging her convictions simultaneously. This conflict ignited something. There was a story deeper than mere persuasion unraveling, something that tied her personal life to her professional aspirations, a story begging to be told. Waking the next morning, Lisa felt a tectonic shift. What if, rather than fear rejection, she used it as a canvas to paint her narrative? Should she dig deeper into her story, using its nuances and challenges as a way to resonate with the audience? The thought of vulnerability transformed into a potential strength lit a fire within her, beckoning her to explore. Driven by newfound clarity, she opened her laptop, determined to draft a structure for her upcoming presentation. It was time to boldly unravel her intertwined narratives, to weave her professional journey with her personal truth. But as the words began to flow, the question loomed ominously in her mind: would unveiling her vulnerabilities shatter her professional facade or build an authentic bridge? That uncertainty lingered like a storm waiting to break, promising insight but threatening to upheave her carefully crafted persona. She closed her laptop, heart racing. Decision time loomed, and the stakes were higher than ever. Could she navigate the precarious line between authenticity and professionalism without losing either? The choice she faced would undoubtedly shape the path of her journey ahead. As Lisa stood before the towering glass building the next day, she could hardly believe how far she had come. Inside, she rehearsed her speech one more time in the mirrored elevator, each iteration ringing with authentic conviction. This new presentation wasn't just about corporate strategy, it was about her life story, the intersections of motherhood and ambition, crafted as a testament to resilience. Each word would reflect the depth of her journey, lighting a path for others who balanced their dual roles similarly. Arriving in the conference room, she felt a flicker of trepidation rise within. Yesterday's doubts had been haunting, but as she faced the board, her colleagues, her allies, she leaned into the strength gained from vulnerability, a force that had begun shaping her narrative. "Thank you for gathering today," Lisa began, projecting a confidence that anchored her resolve. "Today, I'm not just sharing my vision for corporate growth but also weaving in the personal stories that drive our shared purpose." She began with a slide of Mia's radiant smile. The photo invoked soft murmurs. It was a testament to strength born from love and sacrifice, a reminder that ambition is often fueled by a deeper calling. As she articulated the challenges she faced as a single mother navigating the complexities of corporate dynamics, she felt her voice gain strength. "Every late night and early morning isn't a burden, it's a motivation," she asserted, watching as intrigue flickered across the faces of her colleagues. With each detail shared, each struggle unveiled, the skepticism that had once clouded the room began to lift, replaced by a profound respect for the authenticity Lisa dared to embody. "Being a mother has taught me invaluable skills: empathy, adaptability, and the innate ability to prioritize under pressure." As she made her case for tapping into the power of inclusion in the workplace, there was a palpable shift. The old guard executives, known for their stoicism, started to nod in agreement, the silence replaced by bursts of supportive dialogue. "Imagine a workspace where expectations meet understanding, where we lean into diverse experiences to cultivate innovation," she prompted, the traction of her vision feeling tangible. It wasn't simply a job to her, it was a discovery breeze, igniting new pathways toward impactful solutions. Even those who once harbored dissent began to contribute. Questions morphed into collaborative strategies, and Lisa's colleagues started offering insights on implementation. Everyone now shared the mission to not only discuss diversity but actively advocate for it. As the session wound down, a sense of victory enveloped her. Lisa could feel the shift solidify beneath her. This was no longer just her desire for change. It was now a collective charge led by a renewed spirit. The CEO initiated a follow-up meeting to explore actionable metrics and systemic changes. Lisa was invited to lead this charge. Her voice was heard, recognized, and supportive winds surrounded her. Days turned into weeks, and as she spearheaded the initiative, tangible metrics began to emerge. The first workshops on work-life balance and diversity training drew significant attendance, stirring excitement across departments. Within months, visible cultural shifts took root, fostering an environment of collaboration and inclusivity that resonated at all levels. Yet, beyond work, there was a newfound dynamic in her life as a mother. Mia watched Lisa rise each day with purpose. Homework had turned into moments of shared brainstorming, meals morphed into strategy sessions. Lisa paid attention not only to leading initiatives at her company but also to crafting a legacy for her daughter that echoed strength and authenticity. They sat at the kitchen table, brainstorming ideas for a children's book about resilience. This collaborative treasure became a reflection of their shared journey. One afternoon, while cleaning out old documents, Lisa stumbled upon a dusty notebook filled with her dreams and aspirations. She flipped through the pages and found her old fears mirrored in the script: a longing for acceptance, a fear of failure. In stark contrast, the powerful woman she had become glimmered brightly in every scribbled line of accomplishment since then: professional accolades, the launch of her inclusive initiative, and the heartfelt conversations that had reshaped her workplace. Reading through those pages pushed Lisa to embrace the journey ahead. She realized the importance of continuous growth, each challenge a stepping stone further igniting her ambition. Her role as a leader wasn't just about strategy, it was about empathy and bridging the gaps between experience and innovation, truly championing the voices of working parents who dared to juggle it all. As she closed the notebook, a smile crept onto her face. Lisa had not only conquered the boardroom, she had found her place within herself, confident, competent, and complete. While she gazed out the window onto a bustling street, she knew that her story was just beginning. Today's triumph would inspire countless tomorrows. The world watched and waited for those who dared to redefine what it meant to lead with heart and strength. This was victory, this was clarity. Now, you need to subscribe immediately to the channel to not miss the next exclusive emotional stories. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm. Comment your reactions and theories about the ending. Share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. Don't wait even one more second to share. Only true fans of personal overcoming stories understand the importance of supporting this channel through these actions.